I'm so excited for this video, you guys. This is my latest thrift haul, along with some things that I picked out of my craft stash that have been sitting around for way too long, and I just really need to find something to do with it. And so I'm not saying that I'm going to use everything on this table here today, but a good bit of it I do. And if you want some great ideas, keep watching. Right now, this is my favorite thing in my craft stash. I run across these printed linen calendars all the time, and I have to stop and look at every one of them when, even if I don't come home with any of them, I just have to stop and admire them. So I got 1983 here. That's not any significant year for me. I was 4. But I am going to take this table leg apart, which I didn't even know that it would do. I thrifted this table leg and it actually gave me 2 pieces for the price of 1. And so I took that table leg apart and I'm going to try to figure a way to hang this calendar from the table leg. And of course I'm going to paint the table leg. So I realized I had these rings that I also had thrifted. I thought they would be the perfect thing to hang this linen from. However, the rings wind up being too small. So I'm gonna have to find a workaround for that. But if you have a table leg that would work with the size rings that they sell like at Walmart, then you're golden. So here is the table leg with 1 coat of the DIY craft paint. I'm loving that paint, by the way, because it distresses so pretty. This is the color Swan White, and I'm just using a light grit sandpaper, and I'm going to go over some of the edges and especially those middle spots and get some good distressing going. Now, like I said, these rings, although they are the large size ones, still didn't slip down over my table leg. I tried to break it, I tried to bend it, I tried to cut it. Husband didn't have the right kind of saw blade to help me, so I'm just going to use the clips off of these rings and make some new rings out of something else. And here's the something else. This thing I thrifted, it is a picture holder, I'm guessing. And for $2, look at all the little doodads I get because I can use each one of these for different projects as little embellishments. Plus, I think it's the right thickness of wire that I would like to use to make my own rings. So I'm just cutting them off with some wire cutters. Then I bent each piece into a circular shape and attached my clips and then attached that to my table leg. Any piece of wire could do this, even a wire coat hanger if you have one. Here's a hack you may not know about. You can use a soda can tab to use for a hanger. So you want it to all come off in one piece though, because you're gonna need, it's got a built-in screw hole. So when you pull your tab off, make sure that the whole thing comes off with it, and you'll see the difference. This one has that little piece right there and the other one doesn't. So you want 2 like this. Well, however many you need, but I need 2. And there you go. You got a homemade hanger in a pinch. Now I'm going to tell you about something that has made my life really happy lately. It is a vacuum mop, so it vacuums and mops at the same time. It surprised me when I first turned it on. It is self-propelled, so it just kind of starts going when you turn it on, and it automatically turns on in the smart mode where it automatically senses how dirty the floor is somehow, and it knows if it needs to add more water or not. This is my laundry room floor, so you can better see how it cleans as far as streaking goes. I haven't seen any streaks, but I use vinegar water to do my cleaning. It comes with a solution, that's fine. I haven't had any problem with it, but I just like to use vinegar water. And this is my laundry room before I cleaned it and then after. And I like that it is self-cleaning. It does a whole process every time I'm done using it. I just let it do its self-cleaning thing, and then I empty the water. This right here really impressed me, a tank full of dirty water, because I've had a Bissell Crosswave before and it never had dirty water in it like that. So I also like that it has a separate basket. It keeps the dirt and hair away from the water, so you can take a paper towel and wipe that out and then rinse it, and it's right back into the vacuum to go. It has 3 cleaning modes, so it has the smart mode, a max mode, and then a vacuum suction mode that's more for mopping up wet spills. There will be a link in my description box to go to the Ultenic website to buy. And if you use this discount code at checkout, you'll get $30 off your order, making it $189.99. which is $10 cheaper than the Tyneco iFloor 3, which I've researched and is comparable but has a smaller tank. I'm running this machine like every day because it's just quick and easy, and I like to see my floors clean. Now back to the thrift flips. This is a home interior candle shade that I thrifted, and it's so sweet with its little cottagey design, and I thought if I combined a spindle with it, it could kind of look like a lamp. So then I found a plaque wood piece from the Dollar Tree that I had laying around to act as the base. So first I cut my spindle down to the size I thought I would need. Then I needed somehow to attach the spindle to the candle shade, so I'm using this old lid off of a candle to cover up the bottom, which I will attach with E6000, and then I'll have something to screw the spindle into. My spindle was already white, but I wanted it to have a chippiness to it, so I'm going to paint it up with some milk paint from Fusion. And this is a simple mixture. It's 1-to-1 ratio, so only mix up as much as you're going to use at one time because it doesn't keep. My bunny's making racket in the bin, but I mixed up enough to do just the spindle and the base. You won't get chippiness every single time with milk paint, but you will get a great texture, that's for sure. I was able to achieve some chippiness, and usually that happens in the drying. So you see I'm using my hair dryer to dry it up, and it usually doesn't happen for me until the second coat. So I use 2 coats of milk paint and I dry it with a hair dryer. On the highest setting, it has to be high heat, and if you watch, it'll start to crackle sometimes and you'll get some really cool chippy effects. Then you'll need to seal it with some kind of a sealer so that it doesn't all chip off. Next, I worked on the base. So like I said, this was a Dollar Tree plaque. So I had to sand that down to make it a little smoother, but any texture in the wood is just going to make it look old and vintage anyway, so I appreciate the nicks and cuts. So the idea was to have a dark color underneath and then the white milk paint on top, and then the chips would reveal the darker color underneath. It didn't quite work out that way because in this instance, the milk paint didn't really chip up on this plaque of wood, or maybe it was because I applied it over white or this dark chalk paint. I don't know, but for whatever reason, it didn't chip up, but I was able to distress the piece down and it still looked really vintage and cool to me. Next, I marked the center of the plaque on the underside because I'm going to pre-drill a hole for a screw to go through to attach my spindle. So I also pre-drilled a hole in the spindle as well. Then I drilled the screw in place and twisted the spindle onto it. Then I pre-drilled a hole in the top of the spindle for the top to go on. and drilled a hole through the candle lid. Then you can put a screw in through the top and hold the candle shade in place. And you could modify this a bunch of different ways. I thought about adding a little ring dish and an LED tea light to light it up. Look at this huge bundle of flowers I thrifted, and I think they were even half price off of this tag. And I've already stolen a few little branches off of it, but I want to keep it as a whole, so I'm going to manufacture a way to display it that's a little more creative than just using a vase. And it's using this thrifted grain sack or grass seed sack that I just adore. But just throwing the flowers in a sack and hanging it on a wall wouldn't work, so I'm using this dollar store decor that I got on clearance half price, and it's going to be like a piece of wood for a backer. I used my DIY paint in Swan White, and boy, just adding that to this piece really made it look a lot better. Like, I contemplated not using it at all because it was so pretty after I used this white paint, but it had some damage in the center you can't really see on camera, so I'm going to use it anyway. But anyway, I used one coat of the DIY paint and then I distressed it to look like real wood. The grass seed sack was a perfect fit for me to just staple it right onto the frame. I wasn't worried about the staples or trying to hide them because I kind of, for some reason, liked the addition of the little flash of metal. But if you wanted to hide that, you could definitely put a burlap ribbon or something to hide the staples, but I was fine with mine. Oh, the little recipe box with the rooster. I love him. All it needed was some paint and some distressing. It was just some DIY paint in the white swan and then a little light sanding, and it turned out beautiful. This gigantuan thing has been with me since my secretary days. It was in my office, and it just is too big for every space I try to put it in my house. So I'm going to take it apart and find a new use. The first thing that comes to mind when I get this taken apart is that this glass piece looks like a cloche to me. And this might be the perfect thing to put on the top, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do with it. I will have to fashion a knob to go on top, but that's easy enough to do with some clay. And then this other piece can just be a candlestick. Like, who doesn't need more candlesticks, right? I used E6000 to secure that bottom piece to the glass piece. Then I'm using Crayola air dry clay pate. Now this is the stuff that's like gets harder. It's not the real light as air stuff because you want this to dry hard. You could also use a big wooden ball or something at the top. I didn't have that. So I'm going to make a clay ball, and that's what I'll be using. I just rolled it into a ball and then I stuck it on the top of this piece. You know, it depends on the components that you have. You know, you might be able to do something totally different, but this is just to give you an idea. If you did need to make such a thing, you can do it with clay. I came back the next morning and I didn't know if it would have stuck to that piece or not, and it didn't. It pulled right off, but that's okay because I need to paint it anyway, and I'm doing that with the DIY paint. And when that was dry, I used E6000 to attach it to the top. And I used the DIY paint on the wooden piece so that it would be the exact same color as the clay piece that I just made. And the final and most fun part of this DIY is to take some antiquing wax and a foam brush and just swipe it around until it looks like distressed wood. And the other piece makes a great candlestick. Some things that I thrifted didn't need any paint or DIYing. All they needed was some thought and creativity. So I took this dish and this globe and I'm going to turn it into a candle lamp. And the other component that you'll need would be some sort of a jar. So I'm using a pickle jar from Walmart. It's a great value pickle jar. And so you need to find two pieces like this jar and this globe that will fit with one another. So this jar fits down inside of this dish and the globe fits on top of the jar. Oh, and the candle I already had, but you can thrift these at Goodwill a lot of the time. And just an LED candle. It's a little tall, but it was what I have and it works for now. And I think it turned out really, really cute. And look at this antique false graph cheese dish that I thrifted. It was in such good shape. I decided to add it to my vignette too, but it needed some height, so I'm pairing it with a candlestick that I also thrifted in a video long ago, and I'm still using it. And when you put these two pieces together, it's gorgeous. Now let's take a look back at all the thrift flips today. So how'd I do? You'll have to let me know down in the comments which was your favorite idea, and don't forget to check out the link in my description box for the awesome wet dry vac. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I'll be back next week with a whole new series, so you don't want to miss it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!